My name is Rachel, and today we are here to talk about the wild and weird saga of Tucker Reed, how a young woman went from YA author to convicted killer. So we are here to talk about full name Aisling Tucker Moore Reed, but that's not the only name she goes by. More on that at 11. Just kidding, right now. I mean in a minute. Aisling, known mostly by Tucker, so we'll call her Tucker. Tucker Moore Reed was born on October 15th, 1989. Can you tell I have notes? She is also known by her pen name Tucker Reed and then a stage name Win Reed. She is an American novelist, former civil rights activist, according to Wikipedia, and she was convicted of manslaughter in May 2020. Reed had co-authored the young adult novel Amber House, which was published in October of 2012, and its sequel Never Was, which was published January of 2014. There was supposed to be a third and final book in this trilogy called Other When, but apparently there's an Other When where this book was published because it's not getting published in this universe. And that would be for, you know, obvious reasons. In 1989, lawyer Kelly Moore Reed and her husband wrote a book about serial killer Janine Jones entitled Deadly Medicine. I may do a video on that as well, but it depends. This was actually turned into a made-for-TV movie on NBC. A month after the book's publication, Kelly Moore gave Kelly Moore gave birth to Aisling Tucker Moore Reed, who was the first of 3 children. Now, Kelly Moore Reed, as I said, had been a lawyer, but she left working to do, you know, stay-at-home mom full-time, which is a job. I can attest to that. Tucker and her mom, Kelly Moore, as well as Tucker's younger sister, Larkin, collaborated on the book Amber House together. However, there are so many parts to this story, so let's rewind a little bit in time. Before writing this book together, Tucker was in the news for another reason. She gained a bit of media attention and notoriety in 2009 when she posted the name of her alleged rapist to her blog, and according to her blog, which is nowhere to be found now, in 2013, the USC Student Judicial Affairs and Community Standards Office deemed the burden of proof was not reached to find that a violation of the Student Conduct Code occurred. The case was later rejected by the LAPD, a private investigator, and the LA District Attorney. Reed was found liable of defamation in a countersuit. Australian criminologist and feminist Anastasia Powell identified Reed in 2015 as one of several women who used the internet to engage in what would traditionally be deemed vigilante behavior in resistance to rape culture and rape justice beyond the criminal law. In September of 2013, Reed spoke out as a proponent of mandatory exit surveys at college campuses designed to better monitor the efficacy of policies and programs regarding student safety. Such surveys would, according to Reed, prevent internal corruption and dismissal of valid student claims because they would create an external reference monitoring whether colleges remain in compliance with the Clery Act and their own safety policies. Now, I only bring up this rape case, this alleged rape that happened, because Tucker later brings it up against people who reviewed her book. More on that in a second. Alright, so let's talk about the book. Let's talk about it, because I did try to read it. According to interviews, Kelly Moore first started to work on the book herself. It was not originally a collaborative effort. First, she started to work on it in the 1980s, according to Kelly, which I take every single thing that Kelly Moore says with a grain of salt. She says that she was influenced by Indonesian tribal beliefs, which I'm uncomfortable with her saying that, but alright. Okay, so she was influenced apparently by Indonesian tribal beliefs, and then also the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, which I know nothing about and I don't really care. She attempted to adapt the idea for television with her husband at the time, Dan Reed, and her sister-in-law, Dan Reed's sister, and actress Nancy Harewood. The collaboration dissolved. I wonder why. Kelly stored all of the stuff that she had, you know, collected for this idea in a box in her attic, and then at 19, Tucker found the box. This is all alleged. This sounds like, I don't know, this sounds like something they made up. I don't trust these people at all. Tucker allegedly believed that the concept would be suited for YA literature, and she persuaded her mom and then also her sister to collaborate on the book. They cited as inspiration, this is a wild amount of things, Back to the Future, Jumanji, Labyrinth, The Shining, one episode of the original Lost in Space television series, and The Secret Garden. What? I tried to read the book, as I said. I really put in a an effort was made, and I got about 25% through, and I was very uncomfortable with it for several reasons. The way that autism is not just presented in the story, but used in the story was really weird and uncomfortable. As well as a clear use of the mammy stereotype, which I just, why? This was published in 2014. Maybe in 2009, I would say like, yeah, that was happening a lot by then, but 2014? I'm pretty surprised that this didn't get slammed by beta readers, but alright, anyway. Here's the synopsis. The book begins at the funeral of Sarah, our main character's maternal grandmother, Ida. Sarah and her autistic, and yes, autistic is listed in the description, and that would be okay, maybe if I hadn't read the book and know how autism was used, but oh, I'm not cool with it. I'm not cool with it. Sarah and her autistic brother, 5-year-old Sammy, have never seen their mother's supposedly haunted ancestral home. Anne, Sarah's mother, was estranged from Ida, and she plans to sell Amber House and everything in it. Sarah meets her grandmother's nurse, Rose Valois, the mammy stereotype I mentioned, and Rose's teenaged grandson, Jackson. Sarah feels uncomfortable around Jackson because he seems to know things about her grandmother Sarah feels uncomfortable around Jackson because he seems to know things about her that her grandmother would have been unable to tell him due to how infrequently she and Sarah interacted while Ida was alive. Jackson mentions a local legend about a fortune of diamonds hidden in Amber House and offers to help Sarah find them. So you initially think by me telling you that this is going to be like maybe a ghost story, maybe a treasure hunt story. But wait! It's not! Even though Anne has already booked the family into a hotel, Sarah and Sammy conspire to hunt for the treasure and force Anne to stay in the house for the few days that they will be in town. I don't like how that's written because I don't feel like that is an honest representation of what happened in the book, because the first thing to make me uncomfortable in this book was that. What actually happened was that Sarah, our main character, manipulated her autistic brother into having a meltdown so that her mom would be forced to stay at the house. That's really inappropriate. I have a son with autism, and if my other kid did that, I don't know what I would do. I would be very, very disappointed. Soon, Sarah is introduced to Senator Robert Hathaway and his teenage son, Richard. Richard knows more about Amber House than Sarah does, and tells her about Deidre Foster, the mad wife of the sea captain who lost the diamonds in the 1700s. Okay, the mad wife. Yeah, so there are several characters throughout Amber House's history that Sarah comes to know about who are described as crazy, mad. She calls one of them Psycho, who is also autistic. You see why I had problems finishing this? It's ableist. It's pretty bad. Richard claims that it's Deidre who haunts the estate. Meanwhile, inspired by Sarah and Richard's palpable connection, Anne, her mom, comes up with the idea of celebrating Sarah's 16th birthday 10 days away with a masquerade ball. The event will be used to advertise the house before Anne puts it on the market. As time goes on, Sarah finds herself spending many of her daytime hours with Richard and many of her evening hours with Jackson. Yeah, that's another reason why I was like, I'm not finishing this, because I can see a love triangle coming and I am not in the mood for a 2014 love triangle. No thank you. After Jackson rescues Sarah from an encounter with Deidre Foster, Sarah confesses to seeing ghosts in the Amber House, but Jackson explains that they aren't ghosts. According to Ida, they are what the house remembers, and the house tells its secrets only to the women of Sarah's family. In the days leading up to her birthday, Sarah uses her new gift to piece together when and why her mother and grandmother drifted apart. She discovers secrets through visions of the women of her family that suggest she is connected to both Jackson and Richard. And when the past seems to threaten Sarah and Sammy in the present, Sarah must use her gift to find the point where past and future meet before the ominous happenings at Amber House end in a fresh tragedy. So what ends up happening, I guess, is that she somehow changes the past, her family's past. Like, she wakes somebody up from a coma, I guess, before they were supposed to. I gathered all of this from Goodreads, which changes the future, and somehow, because of her doing that, the Confederate Army won? I love that it says Amber House is a young adult paranormal mystery novel. Critics have remained in disagreement over what genre Amber House fits into. Kirkus called it a horror romance. Book List cited the story's gothic feel. It didn't feel gothic to me, it felt. Publishers Weekly said it straddles the line between magical realism, fantasy, ghost stories, horror, and a touch of romance and classic glamour. How many lines are we talking? What the fuck? The authors categorized the book and its sequel as a time travel series. Okay, which, that's weird, but alright. As I said, I really did try. Tucker, by the way, herself narrates the audiobook, which is how I chose to digest it. And she's certainly not a bad narrator, but like it was because of the accent that she used that I realized before it was explicitly said that Rose was black, that I realized that Rose was black and it was a mammy stereotype. So that made me a little uncomfortable. And the book is not good for many reasons beyond the weird and awful autism rep, the ableism, the mammy stereotype. There's also casual other racism, casual fat phobia, casual sexism. It's just like all around not good. So why finish it? Boo. So apparently about 8 years ago there was a reader that found this book concerning, and Tucker and her mom Kelly decided to get involved in that conversation, which they should not have. Anyone familiar with the book community online, with the book reviewing community, knows that authors should not interact with their reviews, but apparently Tucker did. So the problem is that a lot of this is lost to time. This was a long time ago and I have to rely on what there is still available, but I do have some screenshots that I'm going to show you. So one of the things that they had an issue with is actually the second book had a review, and it's this review here. It says, "Let me set the scene for you. This is Maryland. A protest is taking place outside of a movie theater because it still restricts blacks to the balcony." And apparently that's like an actual quote. "The cops fire tear gas into the protesters and turn fire hoses on them." You're probably thinking, oh, this book takes place in the 1950s, aren't you? Wrong! This book takes place today, 45 minutes outside of DC, half an hour or so away from where I currently live. Let me fucking tell you something, book. I've lived all over the goddamn country. I've lived outside the goddamn country in a place where I, as a Caucasian, was the smallest minority of a population. I even grew up in the most liberal part of the country, and yet I have never lived in a place that is more of a melting pot than where I live now. 45 minutes outside of DC. This place is like a fucking fairy tale. Everyone gets along. Almost all my friends are in biracial relationships, and there is almost no racial tension. I'm not saying that it's not possible, that things are the complete opposite such a short distance away, but for some reason I'm having trouble buying it. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this review by itself, the first of which are yikes. But apparently Tucker and her mom saw this and got upsetty spaghetti, which I can understand that this is a time travel series, things changed in the past and that changed in the future. However, I am uncomfortable with the idea of a lot of white people writing about, oh, the Confederacy won, let's see how that changes the future. But I'm especially uncomfortable with these people writing about that. What's up?
I don't want to go.
You don't have to go there, honey. That's Calamity Ganon. You can just ignore him and go other places.
Because there's bad guys in there, and there's a big skeleton in it too.
Oh my goodness.
It's a big skeleton.
Yeah, it's a big skeleton.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to go there.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Somebody pointed out this in the Goodreads conversation where it says, apparently this is an alternate reality. From the blurb, it's a place where the colonists lost the 1776 insurrection, where the American Confederation of States still struggles with segregation, and where Sarah is haunted by echoes of a better world that she knows never existed. So I guess she completely altered reality and is seeing like visions of the world that was before she changed shit. Somebody says, is there a reason the author set up the world to be like this? She sort of changes her family's history, and how that equates to changing the history of the entire country, I have no idea, nor do I think I'll find out. If she even makes it seem even plausible, I really don't think I could finish this. Relatable, it's not good, I don't know. Yeah, it's not like her fucking great-great-great-grandfather was Robert E. Lee. She went back in time and woke up her aunt from a coma, that's it. Somehow that changes the entire country's history. Fuck my life. Okay. I get ripple effects and stuff, but seriously, how's that even possible considering her aunt wasn't even alive during the Civil War? So a lot of this just doesn't make any fucking sense. That's shitty. I can understand why reviewers were like, what the fuck is happening? Apparently this exact conversation was also happening on another review site called Book Likes, which I didn't even know existed until I started looking into this shit. And apparently Tucker and Kelly started engaging on Book Likes. The only thing that I could find left of this was Kelly Moore, and this was screenshots from Lit Chick, who originally had started this conversation rather. Kelly says, Shelly, I posted this publicly because this has become some kind of public brouhaha. And my thought was that many of the people who saw fit to punish my daughters with me and me with 1 stars might also be participating in this conversation. I would be very happy to discuss this with you privately if you are willing. Again, I just want to bring some rationality to a conversation that seems to have spun completely out of control. Is that unreasonable? Oh man, this reeks of manipulative mom. And then she's talking to somebody named All Hail Grimlock. I don't know what transpired in the whole conversation, but no matter what, this is yikes. All hail Grimlock, I assure you that Andrew Paul Bean raped my daughter. I would not state this publicly unless I was confident it was the truth. I have dwelt with my daughter for the past year and more in a land so bleak I could hardly stand it. PTSD is a wound I would not wish on anyone. My daughter has been unable to go back to school. Her grades are trashed and hopes for her future ruined. Many women are confused when someone they care about rapes them. Many women continue in relationships with their rapists as they try to rewrite the horror of having been raped into something easier to live with. My daughter had the courage to stand up and seek some justice, try to stop a rapist from going on to hurt other women. I don't think this is something you should ridicule her for. Indeed, Tucker was the rallying point for many at USC to come forward and to file a Title IX complaint against that school for its endless failures to treat rape seriously and to afford victims fair treatment. You think this was a publicity ploy? I'm just shaking my head. I don't have any doubts that Tucker was raped. I believe victims, but I do also think that some people who endure sexual assault can also go on to do other really shitty things. And I think Tucker is one of those people, obviously, because she's in prison for killing somebody. And also drug charges. We'll get there. This is just really, really fucking inappropriate. I don't know what any of the responses are. I just want to point that out again. I don't know what the rest of the context was. I don't know what other people said, but all of this that Kelly is saying either way is fucking yikes. She also says, I don't understand why my following a public link posted in the reviews for my book, which link brought me here, would be called stalking. I would be very interested in having a conversation with one person amongst those who feel we have overstepped to try to get down to a reasonable examination of the facts. It is my impression we are being accused of things we did not do. To the best of my knowledge, if this is based on misunderstanding, it is certainly a misunderstanding that is worth clearing up. Corey warned me it was not possible, but it is hard for me to believe that we can't have an amicable discussion. Here's the thing, reviews are not for authors. Feedback from your publisher, from your editor, from your beta readers, those are for authors. Those are for you. Reviews are not for you. Somebody should have told Kelly that. I think the reviewers did, but obviously she doesn't care about the boundaries of reviewers, so why would she listen? So that's really the problem here. And it's not like this hasn't happened to all of us in the review community. I don't believe Tucker ever belittled, demeaned, stalked, or harassed Shelby, and I would very much like to see any evidence that this occurred. I also know that Tucker did not try to get Shelby banned on Goodreads, and again, would like to see any evidence that this was threatened or pursued. On the other hand, Tucker has been rather viciously attacked here and elsewhere, and I still wish that anyone was willing to discuss this reasonably based on the facts. You all are invested with the power to harm. You know that we don't really get paid for this, right? So like typically reviewers don't get any sort of ad revenue or stuff. We certainly don't get paid for writing anything on Goodreads or NetGalley. So what kind of power do you think that we have? And also, I just want to point out to you that there are people like me who, when they see 1 stars happening to a book, they're more likely to read it. And on the flip side, conservative readers do this all the time. If you call out a book for being homophobic conservatives are like, ha, I'm gonna buy it now because I love homophobia. So I don't believe you. I don't believe that we do have the power that you're claiming that we have 8 years ago. I don't know why I'm getting so fired up about this right now. I really hope and believe that this power should be exercised reasonably with a factual basis to support it. The thing about reviews is that they're subjective, so like we don't have to do anything for you. I don't work for you. You're not my supervisor. I thank you for all your time and consideration of my message. If anyone would like to help me get to the bottom of this mess, I can easily be found and would happy to hear what you have to say. Wish you all a joyous holiday season. Man, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with this lady. Damn. Like, I'm sorry for what happened in her family, mostly to like the guy who died. But like, damn, I'm really glad I don't have to interact with her. Surely we can agree that the ability to drop a 4-star rating to a 2-star rating is power. Nah, we're not gonna agree on that because that's stupid. That's not true. That's not true. You cannot find any evidence that when you do that we affect sales in any grand capacity. The review community is very much removed from the book selling community, like as a whole. Like my family, they all buy books. They don't read reviews. I am the only person who knows about the book community in my family. I am the only person who writes book reviews. I am the only person who interacts with the review community. But I'm not the only person in my family who buys books. Oh, I just dropped my computer. Oh my god, what the fuck? You would have to find evidence. Find some evidence, Kelly. You're a lawyer. And surely we can agree that this very low rating affects the marketability of my book to readers and to other potential buyers. So it is inaccurate to say I have been injured. You would have to make that have substantial evidence, and I think that you would have to make it so that it is proven that reviewers affected your sales up to like $100,000 or something, which I'm sorry, no fucking way. Not in this universe, not in this lifetime. Maybe you could write a book with an alternate universe since you already do that where that's happening, but not this one, not in reality. The thing that leaves me ... puzzled and disturbed is that there appears to be no one whom I could ask to adjudicate fairly whether this injury was warranted, whether those who have formed opinions of me such that harming my ability to earn a living for myself and my family is a just thing to do. Oh, that's manipulative. Look at you. To whom can I direct this inquiry? Your publisher. Contact your publisher. They will tell you what to do. The first thing they're going to tell you to do is shut the fuck up. Corey gave I don't know who Corey is. Corey gave due consideration to our position and decided there had been a misunderstanding she could overlook. Who else was injured? No one will tell me. No one will give me a reasonable explanation why damaging me and my hopes for the future is an action that is reasonable. I just think it's funny how like she went in so hard and then the person who fucked her future was her and Tucker. Is the equity of this punishment not important, not relevant? If not, why not? Oh my god, the freaking delicious irony. The tangy, sweet, delicious taste of irony. There's a bunch of... I wasn't able to find Tucker's comments, but if you look on Goodreads, people can respond to your comments, and those comments get like directly copy-pasted, like quoted. So that's the only thing that I can find. Someone named Nevessa made a review on Goodreads of book 2 in Tucker and Kelly's and the other daughter, Larkin, who never, as far as I can tell, made a peep. And apparently Tucker came and started commenting. It says, why resort to malice here? I just don't understand. People brought up several issues and I was trying to address each of them. There's been one misunderstanding after another in a very short amount of time. If you don't believe me, Google me. I was on CNN talking about my rape in August. It's also bizarre. You would think me writing a coherent post somehow means I'm not sincere. The damage has already been done. There's no PR motive to reverse things. That's usually impossible, but like anyone, I don't enjoy being held culpable for something that isn't true. Hence my first post to Corey, hence me trying to set the record straight here. I didn't try to make anyone change their review. I asked for an addendum to a post that was predicated on a damaging error, and it was a fair request. You asked for a review to be edited. If you asked for an addendum, you're asking for a review to be edited, and that's inappropriate. As far as Shelby and the 7 other people who have decided to hurt me and my family by manipulating our Goodreads ratings, I wasn't sliding in to put in my 2 cents. I was attempting to give users the chance to step back and question their motivation behind intentional cruelty from a person who is now in prison. As far as Shelby, Shelby, it seems you've blocked me from your account. I have no idea why, but it is incredibly unkind, not to mention illegal, to post private messages to the internet without the permission of the other party. Unkind? I guess it depends on the context, but it's certainly not illegal. Like, certainly not. I love that she threatened her. Also, considering that a particular Goodreads user thinks that the issue would have been forgotten if I just let people think I tried to control a reviewer, I question why that is. Why am I attempting to explain that I didn't try to control a reviewer is met with such disdain? Isn't it better to know that I did? This site promotes interactions between authors and readers. The whole concept that it is taboo to do so is kind of random and groundless. No. You misunderstand what Goodreads is for. It is not to promote relationships between readers, reviewers, and authors. That's not what Goodreads is for. It's a reviewing site, and that's it. Like, I'm not there to interact with authors. I'm there to review books. I'm not even there to teach authors. Like, if I want to give an author advice, I explicitly say, hey authors, XYZ. If I am reviewing a book, I'm reviewing a book for my viewers. Like, I don't expect, if an author comes in here and listens to this, yikes. I don't want that. Unless I explicitly call you here, you are not summoned. This person says, I think you should have never commented in the first place. Like, that's it. They summed it up in one sentence. At one point she says, the PTSD stems from the rape actually and is well documented online actually. The autism as well. I wonder what the full context of that was. I'm really curious because it seems like somebody else pointed out the bad autism rep here, and I wonder if she's saying that she's autistic, which fine, but autistic people can still get it wrong. Autism is a spectrum and you can represent your autism while misrepresenting somebody else's autism. Anyway, that's all the screenshots I have. Let's get back to the rest of this story. We are moving on to now how we went from this messy person to this messy person now being in prison for killing somebody. Okay, so in 2000, Kelly Moore's parents retired to a 150-acre ranch in southern Oregon where Kelly and her brother Shane, who was also a lawyer actually, reunited. Kelly was now divorced from her husband and she lived in a house that her parents had bought for her. Shane also had moved there, as I said, and he moved there to care for his mom and dad. His dad, I think, had ALS is what I read somewhere. Eventually their dad passed away and he was just taking care of their mom. So following their father's death, Shane began caring for the mother, Lore, who was 87, but he and Kelly were not getting along. So they often fought over the management of the Moore's property. Like, Kelly wanted the property to have like loggers come on, and Shane was like, no, I don't want the property to get devalued. This was a really expensive property. Like, it could have sold for like $2 to $3 million. And tension existed between Tucker and her uncle Shane. So in September of 2015, Tucker and Shane got into a altercation where Tucker had yelled something at Shane and Shane chucked a bottle of oil at Tucker. It went through a screen door, busted her in the face, cut her face, I guess. So because of this, there was a no contact order. She had a restraining order. They were not supposed to be in the same room. She was pursuing charges. Weeks later, 911 is called. The caller is Carla Triber, who is a public notary. She was at the Moore property at Shane's request, and she was calling to say that Shane Moore had been shot at his mother's home. And when first responders arrived, which by the way, it took forever because they live out in the middle of nowhere, they found Shane dead from a single gunshot wound to the chest. Now, Tucker, for some reason, had been filming what happened. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it ends in her shooting her uncle, which is traumatizing. You can only hear it, but still, it will stay with you. So I'm not going to play that part, but I am going to play the parts leading up to that. Because what happened was Carla Triber, the notary, was there at Shane's request, as I said, to get a quitclaim grant deed signed that would split the property 50-50 between Kelly and Shane when their mom passes away.
Shane needs to stay away from the property.
Oh, this is a grant deed?
So do you know this?
Oh, this is not, no, this is not getting signed.
Do you know anything about this?
No,
It was
it's not
actually,
getting signed.
this man, my Uncle Shane, came into,
Who's Shane?
that's a squatter here. He squats here. And Shane is supposed to stay and take care of my grandmother. And the other day, he has assaulted me. He's not supposed to be within any range of me. He came into this house past me while I was sleeping. Yes. Yes, this man, he threatened this woman's life, my mother, unless she signed that paper.
Unless my mother signed.
This is up to you.
Yeah, she's not signing a grant deed. She's not signing a grant deed. She's not, I was told it wasn't, she was told it was an inheritance, a will.
An addendum to her will.
A will. This is a grant deed. You're not signing a grant deed, Mother. No, I
Do you understand what a grant deed is?
He's coming into the house. God damn it.
She's
Pick up the gun.
She's not signing a grant deed, Shane. I thought it was a will. She's not signing a grant deed.
You son of a bitch.
So you can see Shane was watching from the outside, watching the meeting. After Kelly ripped up the deed, he walked to the front door, but Kelly and Tucker prevented him from entering the home. The public notary hears a gun go off, and when police arrive, they can't get a straight answer on who shot Shane. So everyone ended up cuffed and taken to the station except the notary, who noped the fuck out of there. before police arrive. So investigators initially, they interrogate Kelly Moore. In her videotape statement, she accused Shane of growing marijuana on the property and possibly even manufacturing meth in their mother's basement, which Kelly, I just want to point out that the punishment for those things is not a single gunshot wound to the chest, but I digress. Kelly claimed that she and Tucker were staying with her mother because Lore, the grandmother, was afraid of Shane. Kelly also said Shane threatened to kill her and her daughter if Tucker didn't drop the assault charges against him. So Kelly gives a statement up to the part where Shane was like walking into the house and then says, and that's the end of my statement, which hilarious.
And he was trying to come in, he was trying to hurt me. And God only knows what else he was gonna do.
Okay. And what happened next?
That's the end of my statement.
You don't want to tell us what happened after that?
No, I don't.
Then they interviewed Tucker.
We know there's a past, established it. A lot led you to where we're at today, but we gotta have it from you. You were there, I wasn't.
I found a gun that I believed belonged to my grandfather. I wanted to know if it was loaded. I took it outside onto the porch and I fired it. That was this morning. Once I showed her this gun, she was like, let's put it in a central place. Everybody was screaming from what I can remember. Shane started opening the door and entering the house.
Okay.
I was absolutely sure he was going to kill my mother. I had the gun and I'm sorry.
Okay. Take your time.
And I don't even remember what happened. I was like screaming and I thought that you had to cock a gun for it to go off. And I didn't just shoot the gun.
Did you think Shane was going to cause you harm coming through the door?
Yes.
So Tucker was arrested and charged with manslaughter, but she made bail the next morning. In examining the murder weapon, police discovered that only one round had been fired, and according to that statement that she made, Tucker had shot it that morning, meaning it had been reloaded, which indicates intent. Investigators also learned that at 1:40 on the day of the murder, Shane Moore had called the police to report gunfire at the homestead. In investigating this, they called Ryan, which is Shane and Kelly's other brother. They have it's like 5 siblings total. Ryan stated that he's never seen Shane be aggressive or violent, but one time Kelly went after him with a fireplace poker, allegedly. when he said that she was mooching off of their parents. And he also said that his niece Tucker goes into crazy rages, which I don't love the wording of that, but yeah, after listening to her shoot her uncle, I can see it. So the investigation was a long process. Knowing that authorities were trying to build a case against Tucker, that this was murder and not manslaughter, her defense attorney gave the police that cell phone footage that she had filmed of the day of the killing, believing that it would exonerate her. Instead, the investigator was like, this isn't proving your case, this is proving ours. So, and he was like, she's narrating it, saying, this man is aggressive and dangerous, but he's just literally standing outside in some flip-flops. So Reed had remained out on bail until this footage was handed over by her own attorneys, and she was indicted again in August of 2018 on the manslaughter charges as well as murder and booked into the county jail without bail. So it was her own video provided by her own defense attorneys that got her screwed over. But this takes another turn, I know, as if this video isn't long enough. Here's where it gets even more wild. Local filmmaker Matthew Spickard contacts authorities. He said that after her 2016 arrest while out on bail, Tucker auditioned for and starred in his film From the Dark. He said he didn't know she was under investigation and possibly facing murder charges, as they hadn't done any background checks on the cast, and she was going by the name Wynn Reed. And get this, Tucker was cast as the main character, Valerie Faust, in this independent horror flick, and Valerie Faust is a woman who uses self-defense as an excuse to commit murder. Exactly as Tucker seems to have done in real life. So, like, I just want to emphasize here how wild this story is. First, she films herself on her own cell phone shooting her uncle and killing him. She killed her uncle. And then a year after, while still out on bail for that crime and being investigated, she went and auditioned for, read the script for, and starred in and filmed a movie that mirrored the real life killing that she did. Here's the trailer for In the Dark, by the way.
There was an old man lived at the foot of the hill. If he ain't moved away, he's a living there still, singing fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day. He hitched up his hogs and went out to plow. How he got around, we never knew how, singing fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day. Old devil come to him in the field one day, saying, one of your family I'm gonna take away, saying fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day. Take her on with the joy of my heart. I hope by golly you'll never part, saying fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day. The old devil got to the gates of hell, said once and for us we'll torture well, saying fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day. Now come a little devil dragging a chain. He picked up a hatchet, went out his ring, saying fi diddle-I, fi diddle-I, diddle-I day.
We will see where the night takes us.
So Tucker changed lawyers again and again and again and again, which made the legal process last for like 2 years. She was incarcerated from the time of her second arrest in 2018, and then in 2020 she took a plea deal, and Tucker pled guilty to manslaughter in the second degree. She was sentenced to 75 months in prison with credit for time served. She is, as of me filming this, incarcerated at Coffee Creek Correctional Facility in Oregon, and not eligible for release until 2024, which is only 2 years from now. I wonder if in 2 years I'm gonna get some nasty comments on this video from Tucker. Actually, this is hurtful and illegal for you to be filming this video. You can't use my cell phone footage. However, it is worth noting that before she even took that plea deal, just a few months before in January 2020, Tucker ended up with additional charges tacked on. She was charged with possession of heroin and supplying contraband. According to the probable cause statement, the charges stem from a contraband search conducted at the jail, and the statement notes that the drugs were found in her stuff and in her bunk on January 1st of 2020. I just think it's funny how like she just continuously supplies evidence against herself. She's like, yeah, I filmed on my own cell phone me shooting and killing my uncle. What of it? Like, if she had not filmed that, had her lawyers not turned that over, she might not be in prison right now. She's like, yeah, I filmed it, what of it? And then she just has heroin in her bed. Yeah, I have drugs in my bed, what of it? I'm innocent. Like, ma'am, are you okay? I think that this is one of the wildest stories that I have ever heard of an author, and there are many. And also, like, Stephen King exists, and he's a pretty out there dude, but like, Tucker Reed is truly something else. I'm thinking of doing more true crime on authors stuff because this was pretty fun to look into, like that lady on Netflix. I love mess. So if you know of any other messy authors, don't hesitate to send them my way. I may or may not finish their books depending on how terrible they are. My God. Sometimes things are so terrible it's funny, but when it's just ableist, I'm not gonna finish it. That was so bad. It was so bad. The fact that they were like, you are trying to kill my livelihood. Like, your livelihood is based on a bad book. You're not gonna get much money off of that. I don't know what to tell you. It's just bad. Like, maybe learn how to write first. Anyway, that's it for this episode of whatever series this is that I've started filming. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have ever read Amber House and suffered through it like I suffered through 25% of it. Leave all your comments down below, like, subscribe. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!